right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us on another episode here of Extreme Health Radio. Glad you could join us. We've got a great in-studio guest today, Mrs. Amy Schuber, and we're going to be talking about lots of cool stuff with her in just a second. But let me go ahead and introduce the show. Thank you guys all for joining us. We really appreciate it so much. We've got a great show lined up for you today. And I just want to let you guys know, if you want to stay up to date with our shows, the best way to do that, I would say, is to sign up to our newsletter list. You get some great bonuses just for signing up. One of them is my audio course on how I overcame my food addictions naturally. So if you want to do that, I would highly suggest you sign up. You'll never miss a show that way. You'll stay up to date with everything we have going on. You can do that by texting the word Get Healthy to 33444. Or you could go to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe, and you can join our newsletter list that way. We've got thousands of awesome people in our community, so don't forget to do that if you want to keep up to date with everything that we have going on. And this show is episode 387, so if I make any mentions during the show, I'm pre-recording this right now, so if I make any mentions during the show about it being episode 388, you can just disregard that. You can get all of the show notes, if you like, at extremehealthradio.com/387. That's 387, and that way you can just download everything that we talked about and be able to get access to all the different websites and things that we talked about during the show. And I am pre-recording this because we sort of picked up this show. I just sort of hit record and we didn't really have an intro. So I'm just doing a pre-intro to the show right now. So yeah, don't forget to do that. Sign up to our newsletter list, extremehealthradio.com/subscribe, and you can join and sign up and never miss a show that way. That would be the best way for you to keep up to date with everything that we have going on. And I also want to let you guys know that this show is brought to you by Bellicon Rebounder. So we're doing all of our shows commercial free now. So if you would like to support the show and get an amazing, I think is the best rebounder on the market today. Rebounding is incredibly beneficial for cleansing your lymphatic system, which you have more lymphatic fluid in your body than blood. That's where all your toxins are stored in your lymphatic systems. That's why doctors will check your lymph nodes anytime you come in during the flu season, because that's where your toxins are stored, and that's where your your lymph nodes swell up. And so rebounding is a cellular exercise, so it's great for every single muscle and cell in your entire body, and we promote which I believe is the best one on the market today. It's called the Bellicon. So if you're interested in including this in your daily workout routine, which I do, I love to do Qigong, and I love to do weightlifting and surfing and all kinds of stuff. But one thing I do every day, and I make sure I never forget, is jumping for 25 minutes on a rebounder, which is a lot of fun too, because we can watch documentaries and things like that and learn some cool stuff while you're jumping up and down. So check it out, extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON, BELLICON, Bellicon. Or you can check it out in our store as well. There's links to that at the top of our website. So if you guys are interested in that, this is episode 387 with Amy Schuber. We're going to cut right into where we started recording right now.
Is that good? But I want to have you on my... Oh.
I just started it.
What the heck? Are we going?
No, we're good.
Oh.
Yeah, we're good.
We're live?
We're live.
Oh, brother.
Why not?
I was just about to tell Amy.
Go tell her.
Schuber, not Schumer.
Not Schumer.
If you Google Amy, you want to look at Schuber.
Very casual here.
Yeah, I want you to be the first podcast of my one that's going to be starting in the fall.
Absolutely.
So you have to come back
and
have more fun.
Yes, always.
That's awesome.
But for now, welcome to Extreme Health Radio episode.
Schuber. Uh-oh.
Now we're done. Uh-oh.
Big difference.
Big difference. Make it a little different.
This is episode 388, I believe.
Is that right?
Let's see. 386, 388. Yeah, this is extremehealthradio.com/388. Success and business life coach. Third time on the show, Amy Schuber.
Woo, woo.
Whoa, number 3. I like it.
Right?
This is great.
This is awesome.
All good things happen in threes.
Strategic success coach for life and business. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is going to be so much fun.
It always is fun.
Easy World Amy.
Easy World Amy. I love that. Julia.
Julia.
I taught you guys about her. I actually love being in an interview where I can look you guys in the eyes because I do so many interviews, you know, staring at a screen.
I know,
It's
right?
fun to be so live.
I feel like that too.
Yeah. So live opposed to live.
It's better. It's better. I think the camaraderie and the connection is so much better when you do it like this.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Have you had any people live in your studio?
No.
No, they've all been over the phone.
So what's
Everything's
going on
been
with
over
your
the phone.
podcast? We didn't
Yeah.
tell us.
I've just crossed episode 100
Nice.
of my podcast, Inspired Conversations. So that felt like a big, momentous occasion just for me.
Yeah.
You know how it is. You do all these
Congrats.
interviews and they start adding up, but 100 feels like a big deal.
100 is a big deal.
Yeah,
100's
so-
a big deal.
Yeah, I've gone past that with having interviews in the can, but the 100th went live recently. So that was exciting. And on that interview, I flipped the script and had a friend take over as host and interview me. So that was a little different.
Was it?
Because in all those episodes, I've never done that. I've always been the host and interviewed people. So flipping it was, fun. It was fun to do.
I can't wait to hear that one. What came out of that? Were you surprised at anything that kind of hit you during that interview? Having the tables turned?
I like turning the tables. I'm not a big person that loves change and things like that, so it sort of gives me a little bit of
Yeah.
Discomfort?
a little bit.
Good way?
A little bit, because as the interviewer, you're in control, and
Yeah.
I guess I like to have control.
Yeah, it's
Can
kinda
you admit
nice.
that? But I just liked being in the flow of the conversation, so it was fun.
That is great.
Yeah.
100. Wow.
You guys are on,
Congratulations.
what's this episode?
388. At least you got a double number in there. You got the 88
Yeah, you wrote
going.
triple number.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's not 8 that's your number, is it? Somebody
No.
has an 8 thing going on. Okay.
So
10.
people can get all of your interviews on amyschuber.com. And you said you're revamping everything? Is that
No,
correct?
actually, they can get the interviews at inspiredconversations.net.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me check that out. Inspired Conversations. That's such a cool name.
It is.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride, as you guys have probably experienced with your show and the different people you connect with and talk to. And all the things I've learned from starting it it wasn't what I expected.
How
Not just-
so?
Well, not just like the technical stuff, because obviously or not so obviously, I had no clue what I was doing when I learned about podcasting, technically. All the microphones and all the editing, and I'm doing it all myself. So you know how that is. It's like, what?
Justin still, every single episode we have, he's like, what do I do with the soundboard? We're
I
learning
still can't figure this whole thing out.
Yeah.
It's like I do my best, but
It's crazy
It's
business,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
So that whole expansion was a huge learning curve in the beginning. And then the interview part is the fun and easy part for me. It's all the back end stuff that I'm kind of like, what? But it's been really fun. And I think me just letting my guard down and following where the universe has taken me with some of the people that have said yes, and me asking people and stretching myself. And it's so funny because you think, I don't know if you guys experience this, but just because someone's a bestseller, or you've seen them on a TV, or you've seen them speak live in front of an audience, you put them up on some pedestal, maybe
Yeah.
consciously or unconsciously. I think we do it. But then when you ask people and they say yes, and I've had some of the best, amazing people just say, yeah, no big deal. Go, yeah. And some people ask, like, how'd you get that person? And I just asked. And that was
Yeah.
a big barrier, because at first you're like, oh, who's going to want to say yes to be interviewed?
Yeah,
and a lot of
it's-
people will say yes. So that was really a cool thing for
I think
me.
that's really, really cool. I think, what's really weird is like we'll reach out to certain people, and I'll say the people that were surprisingly awesome. And those were the people like Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Yeah.
Dr. Bruce Lipton. But then I won't mention the other people who were not as awesome. But we'll reach out to them and they'll say, yeah, please send me your list size. Please send me how many people are going to be listening. Please send me how much traffic you're going to have. And I don't know. I mean, for us, I feel like if they're concerned about that,
not the
I just
guest
don't even
for us.
respond.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how bad I want them on the show, or we'll get people that come on and they'll say, please interview this guy or this person, and we'll reach out to them and they'll respond like that. I just
yeah.
say, no, we're not
Not
going to
a
do
good fit.
because we're not about that. It doesn't.
Yeah, I've had that same experience.
Have you?
And in the very beginning, I think I did 45 interviews before anything went live.
That's right. Yeah.
I ended up doing a lot more than I would have anticipated. But all those 45 people, and a few of them were friends, people doing crazy, great things in the world that I wanted to share. And they were friends of mine, and they said yes. But most of them weren't. So for them to say yes, and I don't know if they Googled me or not. Obviously not, because they wouldn't have been able to find my podcast. They didn't need it to be qualified.
Yeah.
My email, my ask was enough. And that meant so much to me. And those were some pretty amazing people.
Yeah.
And some people were like, how'd you get them? I'm like, I actually don't know, because they said yes before they went and looked me up because they wouldn't have found anything. Because I've had some people say like, well, who have you had on? And let me see, let me listen. I've had that experience too, which I'm fine. Like, I understand that you want to qualify, but there was something about like the universe and me saying yes and it just going with the flow. And those people who said yes in the beginning really quickly without any of that was kind of the brilliance for me.
I know. It's such a cool thing. Like, you really can kind of separate, the qualifications of people. We our first guest was Ty Bollinger, who at the time was had a massive following on Facebook and all this stuff, and he was just such a cool guy, and he was our very first guest. And like, I just came out with, hey, why don't we just interview biggest people we can right away.
Yeah, and he was a resounding yes, too.
And he was a resounding yes, and we hadn't even done a show or anything yet. And it just makes you feel like, there's such great people out there, and then the people that respond in the opposite way, I just think, okay, well, I'll just choose not to respond. I'll move on to people. I'd rather interview friends or just local people, because there's so many hidden gems in the world today that don't necessarily have this huge Facebook following, or they're authors, or so many.
But they have so much to say,
so much to offer,
Yeah, and giving them a platform. Some people that maybe didn't have the platform before, but then need to be heard, and then you offer that. It can be a really great experience, and that's why, for me, the experience has been trusting myself and doing something, because for me, it's really kind of a passion project. It started that way because, there's intention around it, but I've been loose about that, not to limit myself, and also just to see where the experience goes, and also to put myself out there in another way. So it's so funny that I did, all those episodes and really didn't talk about myself at all. The very first episode, it's like a 3-minute, who am I? And that gets a lot of listens because I'm sure people are like, who is this chick? Yeah. But besides that, I really focus on what the people have to say, like you do, because that's my point. I want people to hear a conversation, get inspired, and go do something with their lives, because that's how I am. Like, I'll listen to anything like your show and it's like, oh, I'm going to go do what that person just said. I'm going to go drink more water, or create designer water, or do something that I just learned to enhance my own life. And so I feel like we're all seekers in that way. So,
was there a rumor going around about you possibly branching off and doing a little more like of a little show by yourself in the future?
I think I'm going to include it into the Inspired Conversation. So have both an interview show and then a solo show. So it's going to be the same. It'll be all under one.
Okay, so people can still find you, because I think it is cool, because our Free for All Friday, that's what's pretty cool, is we get to just rap about whatever we want, and that's when I think people get to know you.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really neat, because then you get personal emails from people going, oh my gosh, I love the guests you have on talking about XYZ, but to hear you say you struggle with that, or that's something that you love, or that it's like, it just kind of drives it home for people.
Yeah.
So I think that's rad that you're going to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. It's starting soon.
It is starting soon?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That'll be fun.
And that's me stretching another way too, because then that's me talking into the mic all by myself.
I know.
Yeah, really different, huh?
Yeah, it's really different.
Yeah.
So how have you felt like the show and doing the work you're doing now is stretching you? Because I know for us, it's been I'm not going to share with this later, but for us, it's been such a huge. You were just talking just a few minutes ago about the technology and learning all this stuff. There's so much that, in ways, it stretches you to do the kind of work that we're all doing. It's really a learning curve, and you have to learn a lot of skills.
Well, that's one thing. You're expanding your skill set on levels that you never expected to do. First of all, I would have never expected, soundboards and editing, and then it doesn't work, and you're like, I don't know. I wish my computer could talk to me. It's like, I don't know why it's not uploading. It's just like this big red X. I'm like, okay, and now
your screen is just a big X.
Basically, and you just want to turn it off and walk away. But you have to figure it out, right? And part of that is, being in a community that can support you, and you can ask questions too, and you feel safe asking, because you might be asking some really simple, silly questions to you, but they might not be to someone else. And having that has been really great, a supportive community. And asking for help is another thing, is just in itself. But also trusting myself, when I decided, podcasting, and then everything started lining up with it. And that's how I met you, Kate, through
how did that
an interview.
I forgot. Was it through LaShonda?
No, I interviewed Romilly, yeah, who I had met at an event.
From McCanna Candles, by the way, people. Her candles are at Whole Foods and a bunch of places.
They're amazing.
Phenomenal.
Her business is growing like crazy. So I was at an event speaking, and she was also speaking, and so we connected because that's who I am. I'm always like, ooh, she'd be a great conversation. Ooh, this is even before I had a platform to talk to someone. I just want to talk to people and be like, oh, let's connect. What do you do?
Yeah.
And now I have a place to do that. And so Romilly, and then she said, I need to know you. And then she did. She said, I need to know you.
I met with Romilly for a glass of tea or a cup of tea at Nordstrom Cafe, and she goes, oh, she heard what we were doing with our podcast. She goes, you have to meet Amy and hook me up with you. And the rest is, and it's funny that now you and I have continued our journey as friends. And I love Romilly, but I never see her. It's just, it was meant to connect us this way.
And so that trusting those experiences, the community that I've connected and the friends I've made through it, people I talk to people. I mean, you guys experience this. People that live in Amsterdam or people living around the world that you're interviewing, and I feel so excited, like we're connecting right now, and this is going to go out to such a bigger audience. That's crazy. Like it's a global thing, and it's, for me, it's just achieving one part of one of my small goals, right? To make a difference in the world and make an impact. But I always find I learn so much from the people I'm drawn to in those conversations. I literally get off of an interview and I'm like, okay, that was just for me, you know? And I don't know if you guys feel like that, but I feel like, wow, I just learned so much in that, and I feel stretched and expanded.
Yeah.
And then also going back to your question about like expansion, it's trusting yourself, right? So there's been so many things that I'm wondering, can I do that? Do I know how? I don't think I have the bandwidth or capacity in my brain to learn one more thing to do this. And then something happens, or all these things happen, and it figures itself out. And just trusting the flow and being in that forward movement of the energy versus fighting it.
Right.
You know, so when I do get the big X on my computer, I do a little process, and that's when my practice comes into play, right? Like, okay, this is possible. This isn't, I can't figure this out. It's possible. Just an X. I can do this. It's just, I don't know, you tagged something weird. You know, and then it's a lot of it is me putting my practices that I teach into play.
So when you come up against resistance or things like that happen, where you're just overwhelmed with either too much information or too much, you know, or something technologically, it allows you to sort of resist what your natural reaction is, right? And so it's like a lesson for growth. It's sort of like meditating, and then you catch yourself thinking, so then you can use that as an opportunity to get back into a nice state. So I'm sure when you come up with stuff, I mean, this is how it's been for us, where we get, you know, some scathing email about something that we said or something really negative and horrible. It's like, okay, there's an opportunity. We can either just get mad and angry, or we can take this as an opportunity to grow.
Right.
And it comes a lot, doesn't it? Like every single day?
Yeah. I just had this experience when the day before my 100th episode came out. I was working on something completely different, not even my podcast, another project. And I couldn't get some things to work, and I had to shut my computer. I had to log off. I think I had a few tears. I had a little meltdown. I walked away. I folded some towels. I would think I went outside and grabbed my hula hoop. I moved the energy. 15 minutes later, I came back. I turned my computer on, and it worked fine.
Really?
But it was because I was acknowledging what was happening, you know, and it really wasn't about what I was working on. It was really about the energy moving through me, about, I think, the bigness I was making of my 100th episode, and I was the interview, and maybe me feeling vulnerable about that. But it was showing up in other things that were creating resistance for me. And I recognized it, so I'm like, okay, I'm just this isn't working, and I shut it down, and I, you know, moved around, and it really was 15 minutes of my day. Then I came back, and it worked. It all worked.
I've never heard that about the hula hoop. You literally will go move energy around on the hula hoop?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
What is it? Is it a thing, or is it something that you just think would be fun and it gets you out of the computer? Or
have you heard that actually, like...
No, I mean, you know, just move your body to change the energy.
Okay.
So you can literally do anything. Sure. I just think a hula hoop is sort of fun.
I think you're
And
right.
you exercise a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're moving your solar plexus, and you're just maybe... For me, I don't know, that day it was a hula hoop. It's not always... I don't always get up and go hula hoop.
Yeah, it was a hula hoop Tuesday.
No.
Tuesday's hula hoop day.
No, but I do have a hula hoop, and I use it
That's just
to
really
move
inspiring
energy.
to me. I don't know why when you said that, I thought this like flow, this like circular kind of flow movement to get things kind of going in a direction. Like
when you do something different that you don't always do. Yeah. you can go for a walk or a run or do what you normally do, but
Right.
I say choose something that might shake things up. That you know, when energy's stuck in your body, you don't always know where it's stuck.
That is awesome.
Unless you have pain.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, hula hoop. I just
That's
go and
really
hula hoop
inspiring to
sometimes.
me.
I sometimes do it before I get on an interview. If I'm feeling nervous, I'm like a hula hoop, and so I go hula hoop,
Yeah.
and then I jump on the interview.
Isn't that a weird thing that we do that as humans? We get really nervous before. I mean, this has happened to me a million times. I'm getting a lot better at it, but it's still so bizarre that we, like you always say, Kate, I mean, all these people are just sort of people.
They're just people.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because the interviews, you know, I might know of someone who's really, you know, big in the alternative health community or something. They're massive, but Kate's never heard of them. And she'll think, oh, it's just a person, you know, it's just a person. And in my head, I built them up so much. But it's just so weird that we do that as humans, and we sort of put this pecking order. Like if I were to have an interview with Dr. McCullough, you know, or something like that, it's
Right.
I would probably naturally be nervous, but then I'd just kind of wake myself up and be, you know, he's just a person.
Yeah.
You know, his
And-
wife doesn't get nervous before she talks to him. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
his wife probably yells at him to take the trash out or something.
Well, I think
You know,
people.
something normal.
Well, you think people they started somewhere too, right?
Yeah.
And they're just
Right.
out there doing it. So many people stay behind the scenes and don't want to be seen. So we
Yeah.
make something of the people that are out there doing something.
Right.
People might think that of you guys too, because you've created, you know, this show that reaches so many people, and you guys have skills that other people don't, and so people would come think you know, they might think the same of you because you've created something that they haven't. You know, we put people like in front of
Yeah.
us. I always find the people that I'm most nervous about are usually the kindest and humblest in the
Yeah.
conversations, which surprises me because then I'm like, I don't know why I'm so nervous. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, they put you at ease.
They do put you at ease, yeah, because I'm finding those people who are up to something really amazing in the world are really truly up to something amazing in the world, and that's all they want to do is share and
Yeah.
help people, and
Yeah.
so that's why they're there and connecting with you, and it's really a cool experience.
Yeah, that's so cool. Who have you had on lately that's been really fun?
She was my 99th interview, but it took me, she was one of the first people I asked.
Was that your Mariel Hemingway?
Yes. So Mariel
big
Hemingway.
deal.
I asked her when I first decided to do a podcast, and she was a yes. I mean, I asked her face to face because she's a friend and I know her.
Oh, okay.
But it took me a year to get on her schedule to do the interview. So
Did it really take a year?
yeah,
Holy
it did.
moly.
Various things and factors, which was fine. But I was just persistent, you know, with our schedules and in an easy way. So that felt really, really cool to me because I didn't think a year from then I would still be doing this. I don't know what I was thinking. Do you
You
know what I mean?
just- yeah.
I didn't think there was going to be an end, or maybe I'll do 5 episodes and that's that. That wasn't my intention. My intention
Yeah.
is to do something and keep doing it as long as it's
But
working.
you didn't know.
But I didn't know. So
Yeah.
that felt like a big, when we finally got on the phone together, it was amazing. So that felt really, really cool.
What's she up to? Who is she?
Mariel Hemingway?
Yeah, like what is her? Yeah, what does she do? I don't know much about her.
Yeah, you probably
Obviously
don't. Yeah,
the
you
name,
don't follow
but
her.
She's actually, she's become a mental health advocate. So she
Really?
actually would be a great interview for you guys. And she's written several books about her life and, you know, her history growing up in the Hemingway family. You know,
Is she
her
the granddaughter
of
Granddaughter,
Ernest
yeah.
Hemingway. And so her story about growing up in a family and not only being one of many of the family members who had issues, you know, depression, and there's a lot of different illnesses, mental illness in their family. So
Wow.
she's, you know,
and alcoholism, right? Like major goes
and
hand in hand.
she's an advocate for this, and she speaks on it, and she's written a lot of books, and she's a very spiritual person, and she's amazing. She's one of the funniest and silliest people I've
Is she really?
met. Yeah, and she said that in our interview, like one of the surprise factors is that I'm super, super funny, and she's like, I talk on all these intense topics, but I have this humor and lightness because, you know, we live
kinda
now.
need to add that into the serious shadow stuff.
But she's also done a lot of her own personal work and looking at her own life and life experiences and making, you know, that count so you can learn from
Wow.
yourself. So yeah, she's amazing.
She's an actress as well, right?
Yeah, she's an Academy Award nominated
That's what I
actress.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I picked up couple years ago, I was at a day spa, and she was on the cover of a magazine, and I picked it up, and I'd never actually heard of her before then. And I'm reading, and they have this whole giant spread on her and her husband's, or is it her husband or partner, their property.
Oh, yeah. Bobby.
Holy moly. They have like an adult, what do you call that? Like where you go through different like ropes courses and like an obstacle course.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they just have this land in the Hollywood Hills or somewhere up there in LA,
Malibu
right?
Canyon.
It's in Malibu Canyon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who are these people? They're very like, I was reading about her, just made me feel like I wanted to be friends with her. She was so down to earth, seemed so down to earth.
She's a lot like you guys in the sense where, you know, she and Bobby, her life partner, Bobby Williams, they live a life of natural living, you know, and alternative health. And he would be an actual amazing interview for you guys, Bobby Williams. Yeah. And they wrote a book, Running with Nature. So
That's
it's
right.
all,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the documentary Running. What is it called?
Oh, that's Running from Crazy. That's more about her life. But their book,
Nature Crazy, same thing.
Running from Nature is the book she wrote with Bobby, and that's a pretty amazing read as well. Yeah.
So what a fun interview.
Yeah. So interviewing her was it was cool. It was fun. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's been your most surprising interview? If I mean, putting you on the spot, but was there anybody that was like, wow, I didn't see that one come in, and like, either probably a good way, or you thought, wow, I took so much more away from that than I could have ever imagined? Was there anyone like that?
Well, you know, that's a hard question to answer because I think that happens every time I talk to somebody, because I find myself interviewing people that I've either read their book or heard them speak, or they're people I've met at conferences that are up to really amazing things in the world. So there might be people that would have never heard of them before me talking to them, or maybe
like
there's
Romilly
just
and her candles, and why her health
exactly
story,
their stories. But I feel like everyone's story is special. Gosh, there's so many people that I've interviewed that really like speak to me. I mean, Julia Rogers Hamrick is always one of my favorite interviews because I love to talk about Easy World, and her work and her journal that I use every day is amazing.
You really?
Yeah.
Do you use that
I use her Easy World journal every day.
I think I'm going to need one of those.
And it just allows you to have your intention set. And the thing about it is it's easy. I mean, it sounds so silly, but it really is easy to do the work in that sense and put yourself in Easy World. I'm telling you, every time you realign yourself, it becomes easy.
Yeah.
And so she's had an impact on me. She had an impact on me before I actually met her. And then, of course, she's so amazing and sweet and nice. And
is she local? Is she around?
No, she lives in
East Coast?
Yeah, the
East
South.
Coast?
Yeah.
Is she the South?
Yeah.
She's cool.
Yeah, she's amazing. So, I mean, there's so many people. And now you're asking me that question, my head is flooding. Like, who have I interviewed? Who am I talking?
Yeah,
you know,
you have hundreds of a lot of people. That's why it's kind of fun to kind of recap and look back. And
I forget about a lot of the people. Some people will, listen to something that's our fifth interview, and I just completely forgot.
Yeah.
And they'll remind us, remember on episode 5 you said, and we're like, well, I don't know what we said. I don't really know what.
You guys are totally in deep. Yeah. But also, as you're talking, Andrew Harvey is an amazing spiritual man and teacher, and his book The Hope had a really big influence on me.
What is it called? Just The Hope?
The Hope, yeah.
The Hope, okay.
And he's written tons and tons of books, but he was really amazing. And he was one of those big interviews. I realized after I got him and asked him that people were like, whoa, you're talking to him? And then I was like, what?
Yeah, that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I was doing fine before I talked to you.
Yeah, so he was really an amazing interview, very expansive. I find myself, it's interesting too, because, I'm asking all kinds of people all the time, but the particular people who say yes and the interviews that line up in certain timing, the messages seem to be all similar and aligned. I talk a lot about consciousness and spirituality, and that's one of my intentions, but it's not my only intention. I don't know if you guys have noticed that with yours, but it's just who's coming together at the particular time
it
right
must
now.
Be, I feel the same way with you, is that these people come together at a certain time for you in that moment when you're learning a certain lesson. And that's and you were saying before how this is, your show is almost for you. And I feel like the same way with us. It's, our listeners get to listen and your listeners get to listen, but really it's just about, learning, and, the benefits of what these guests are saying are kind of just for us. And it's cool that it's available for everybody else, but it's almost like I do it anyway just to be able to talk to these people.
Yeah.
That's just, you learn
you
so
feel
much.
like you win, that if nothing else comes from this, I just got so much life-changing, life-giving information.
Yeah. And there is a synchronicity with things that are said in the moment, and I think there's also something that we could be really vulnerable if there was a little after show and you're like, okay, this is what I got out of it and why it's applying to me. And I hope you guys got all this out of that too. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah. But it happens, especially for me. And I might have this idea, like I was hoping Mariel would be one of my first interviews. You know, because like a feather in my cap, like I got her in the beginning, and then that wasn't going to happen because in this last summer they said she won't be available for a year, literally. And so I was like, oh, okay, then I'll circle back a year from now if I'm still doing this. I didn't know what I would be doing or if anyone was going to listen, and so then I was like, okay. And then I just let it all go. Like, who cares who the named people are or what their bestseller status is or whatever status. And it really wasn't about that for me, but it does give you a little bit of momentum, right, when you're connected with people. So there was something in that when I was just like, okay, I'm going to let this just like flow the way it wants to flow. And that's how when people say yes and they come together and I disconnect from that person never responded or they said no or they're asking too many questions that I can't fulfill you know, for an interview, so I have to let that go. When you just get into that flow and just disconnect from your expectations, because I don't think my 100 list of people would have been my top 100 people I would have thought would have been my first. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not driven by me at all.
Was it? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Was it you or was it Amy or LaShonda that was talking about the traffic, about the being in flow?
Oh, it was
that LaShonda? LaShonda's been on your show as
she
well.
Has.
She's so lovely. I
she
love
is.
LaShonda.
She is.
She was saying she was over then at our house a couple months ago, I guess, for a show, and she was talking about. We asked her how the traffic was driving from LA down here to her home studio, and she was like, oh, it was really good, and I just put on my music and blah blah blah. But then she started talking about how your life, like basically the flow of traffic represents your flow of life. Are you stuck? Are you feeling stuck? If things are opening for you, is it because you're open? Are you? Have you heard that concept before?
If you're always stuck in
if you're
traffic.
Always stuck, what is that saying? Like what? You know, have you ever heard that?
Well, I mean, that's like Easy Worlds.
Yeah, it is like Easy World.
It's funny the little things that you never put together, though. You know, it's just the little things in life that happen that you never really. You know, I could be as conscious and aware as I possibly can, and I can get in traffic, and I don't even have to necessarily get angry that I'm in traffic. I just say, oh, there's a lot of traffic. But I don't connect the dots a lot of times between, oh, maybe I'm feeling stuck in life, and this is the representation of that. You know? Yeah,
in moment to moment life, right? And what you're doing. Yeah. And it's your response to it versus your reaction to it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, every day and every moment, your life is reflecting where you are if you're available to witnessing that.
You know, one thing I've been learning a lot this year, I think this year both of us have been learning this, is like you were just talking about letting go. Oh my gosh, I've had to let go of so many things, and it's just simple little stuff. There was something happened just the other day. It was just a simple little thing where I feel like a lot of people will get angry or they'll let their emotions get the better of them in little things. And you know, there's just a little thing where Kate was going to get a supplement or get some lemons or something, and I wanted to have some lemon to put in my designer water, but we didn't have any. And so you know, people could get angry about that. Oh, I wanted lemons and blah blah blah, and you know, and I'm going to go get a lemon. I'll go to the store and just fight. And then it's just like, you know what? My body obviously didn't need a lemon. I just thought about it. You know, my body doesn't need a lemon right now. Because if I needed a lemon,
it would have been there.
It would be there.
Yeah.
And I just, like reversing it like that for me lately, if I just look at every circumstance like that, it's been helping so much to just let go.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if I needed this or that, it would be here. So since it's not here, then I must not need it. If I don't need it, then why am I trying to get it so bad?
Right. Your mind is trying to focus on the one thing, you know.
Well, letting go is a work, isn't it?
It's an interesting practice.
Isn't it?
When you start letting go of things that you're conscious of, you really recognize how much you're holding on.
Yes.
So here's a question. So how do we have goals and intentions and desires and sort of kind of a male driven, like, blah, I'm gonna accomplish this
happen.
Or how do we have that but then also learn to let go of it all?
It's an interesting question, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to make it happen, like you just said, because you can't make anything happen, because you know this, if we go forward trying to make things happen, they kind of don't work out that way, right?
apart.
So being in flow is taking that language out, because you can't make something happen. I couldn't have made Mariel be on my show any sooner than how it happened, right?
Yeah.
A year later, because it was what it was. But I think it's really important to know what you're up to in your life. So for me, setting, a goal, also knowing you might let it go because you might go beyond that goal, because a goal is a destination, and you want your destination to not have an end. You want to keep going after that, right?
Okay.
So it's like it's a set point, right? So it can be that or something better. This is the goal, and having the intentions around how you're going to live your life to get there, and beyond that is what's important. You want to know, right? You want to connect with yourself and know what you're up to and what your intention is. And I think we get stuck on the tiny details of like, maybe it's, I want to make this much money by this date in this particular way. But
Right.
what if what are the feelings around that? What is the difference you want to make around that? Like, well, I want to live this kind of lifestyle because of that kind of money at this kind of place in my life. So at this point, these things could happen, and getting around some of these feelings. And then what are you up to in your life and the work that you're doing that's making an impact, and thinking about, I'm up to this thing in my life, like you guys with your show, and the difference you're making talking to these amazing guests that you have, and the impact that's having on the world and consciousness, really. You're shifting something, and you might be coming up against things in that are taking you in another direction that you would have never anticipated, which might take you off target of your goals, your seeming goals, but you also want to be unlimited to what you want to achieve too. Sometimes our goals limit us.
Yeah, that's true. Because you don't want to be attached to the goal, because, like you said, it could your end result could be 10 times what your original goal is.
Right.
But then also, too, it's funny how people will say, well, they'll put certain things on their vision board or something like that in there, and they'll sort of think about it and create the feelings around what it would be like to have those. But I often wonder if it's more about the type of person that we're becoming and the type of impact we're having versus the house that we get, because it's challenging to have goals and then also to be so driven to make those goals happen, but then be completely okay if
none of it or all of it happens, and in the way it happens,
or maybe you go backwards and being just okay, like that book Loving What Is by Byron Katie, just loving what is in the moment, but then also not getting too attached to the goal itself. But you want to have goals. It's good to have goals and intentions, and so it's a funny balance, Well,
I think it's also knowing who you are and what you're up to in your life and your world. But you just said like driving towards them and making them happen.
Yeah.
Like you can't be in that lane and also the I surrender, let it go, and anything's possible lane at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good to have that, like, okay, we've created this business, and this is the intention and the goals of our business, and this is what we're up to this year. This is what we'd like to see happen. Yeah, absolutely, because you want to have a plan, right? But also in letting that go, you let it go. You say, okay, this or something better. You put different intentions around it, so while you're driving towards it, and that energy feels a little hard to me, like, oh, I'm driving towards these goals. But you set them up, and then you back out of it and do the work that is going to allow that to happen. But then what happens is the universe might bring you a different opportunity to get you towards that goal, and it might be completely not on your plan,
radar,
or your radar, and then you might not do it because you're like, well, it's not part of my plan, but it's the exact thing that might get you there. So that is the letting go part. It's allowing what wants to come forward to happen and help you and support you show up and be receiving and allowing of it at the same time.
So setting up processes and systems of, okay, I need to do this X, Y, Z every single day, but then sort of letting it go. And in the case of doing that, you also, since you're letting it go, you're also available for other things to come in.
Right.
Whether it's some other way of, like, let's say you're someone who's doing the type of work that we do, and they really want to be on the doctor's show or something, but maybe the ultimate plan is for you to be on Oprah or have no show, or
right.
So I guess if you're not so bullheaded about it, you can just be open, right, to things and different experiences. And
absolutely. Because have you ever said you wanted to do something and then you started doing it a certain way and none of those that way didn't work?
Oh my gosh!
And then you met someone that said, "Oh, I know this person who knows that person that can help you with that," and then you say yes. Okay, great. And that's not the way you would have gone about it.
Right.
You know, so I think the surrender and the letting go part is allowing the universe to come in and support you, and you receiving that support. And like you said, I think goals is a part of our systems, you know, having them, it's just a system so we can connect to it and know where we're headed. So we can say if we're on track, and then we set up the systems and processes to drive towards those goals, right? But then at the same time, sometimes those processes might not work out that day, and you let the things go because, okay, something else is meant to happen. For instance, have you ever had a day where you maybe had 3 or 4 interviews lined up and every single person canceled?
Well, yeah. Oh my
so
gosh,
you're like, okay, that's a weird Friday.
Same with haircuts.
I had all these interviews. Yeah,
right.
I had all these interviews lined up. That is what I was going to do. I had all these things. And so what do you do in that situation? Do you try to replace them? Do you try to force something else to happen? Or do you surrender and say, well, what wants to happen today? I guess I'm not working on my podcast and interviews. What does want to happen? And then something comes forward and you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting to do this today, but my whole day cleared up and now I can.
Now I
Interesting.
can embrace that.
Yeah, right.
So that's part of that, allowing when things are, you know, out of your control.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're not going to meet your goal of having, you know, your 200th episode by whatever date. You'll work it out. But sometimes you just have to be okay with what wants to unfold. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a question. It's kind of a loaded question, but I can't get this one quote out of my head from my desire map. You know, Danielle Laporte.
Yeah.
She always, every day, it's like my daily thing that you do, the happy journal, the easy world. But one of them said, at the bottom of it, every day she has a little quote that she herself has written, and it said, procrastination can be a form of intuition. And I underlined that months ago, whatever day that was on, and when I saw that, I thought, that sparks an interesting conversation, because when you have goals, which I think are really important, like you said, and we're living in the flow, but you also know where you want to end up. At what point is procrastination meaning you don't really want that thing that you think you want, or you're just waiting for it to come around in a better way? Like I let something go, with a health thing recently.
Okay.
And I procrastinated. And I'm like, I'm not going to order these things that someone told me about. I'm just going to I don't know why, but I feel this block.
Was that the supplements and everything?
This is months and months ago with some supplements or something, or an appointment with someone. It was something very I don't know why I'm dragging my feet. I think this is what I want to do, but I'm just going to kick back for a while. And then that resolved itself, and it showed me there was somebody else, and there was another supplement that was better suited for me. So it wasn't like I was being lazy, like procrastinating and dealing with the health issue at hand. It's like I knew where I wanted to get, but I didn't know why I was dragging my feet. So I agreed with her comment. But at what point how can you tell if someone's just procrastinating about something because they're lazy, or that they feel like it's not a good fit? Or what would you say to somebody who struggles that way? Because I know often I'm like, why do I have this block? Well, is it a block? Is it that I really want it and I don't know how to start, so it's too overwhelming? Or is it that it's not my actual path in life?
So what would be like a practical, real-world thing? Like someone wants to start a workout program or something like that, and they're procrastinating? That kind of thing?
No, I think it's more like somebody wanted to... I don't know, they said that they wanted to start a business or something.
Okay.
And then they didn't know why, but they just sat, and they're like, I'm just going to rest for a while. And then something else came along that they were more excited about. So because they waited, they kind of, quote, procrastinated. It was kind of their intuition because they got offered the better thing. Or, you know what I mean?
Well, I think you just nailed it, because it's deciding, is it procrastination or your intuition holding you back?
That's a really weird, it's how
you define it, I think, because is procrastination a pattern? Like every time you say you're going to do something, you don't do it, you eventually do it, but it's always later, or you're just always waiting till the last second. Is it a pattern? So it's like a belief system that you have. But like what you just said about the supplements that you waited to order and you're dragging your feet and you didn't know why, to me that sounded like your intuition. It just didn't seem like the right time. It didn't seem like
it at the time.
To me, procrastination is when you know that you need to take the trash out by Friday at 6 a.m. And you know that you need to do it by then, and you're too lazy to get out of the chair on Thursday night,
right?
Because you're watching TV or whatever, and so
and then you have fruit flies Saturday morning.
You get up, you get up last minute because you hear the trash trucks coming, and you go get the trash, and you running out to the street. But to me, that's procrastination, and that just sounds like a behavior thing, right?
That was me in high school. Testing. I'd get all my
last minute.
Oh my gosh, right before.
So you can't say that about all procrastination. When I read that, though, I thought of it like in a very spiritual way. I'm like, oh yeah, like that's something I would never have thought you could put together and get that out of. But
because she says it can be.
It can be. It's not saying it is.
Yeah, but so it's like in moments, are you like? I think that's also you have to ask yourself the questions. You know, like what's going on here? Why am I procrastinating? What is my intuition trying to tell me about this particular situation? You know, like for instance, I could have had 100 interviews before I actually put my show up live. And that would have been procrastination, and it's probably a way of fear, of being afraid to do it, right? So I think it's just reflecting back, like what's going on here, asking yourself a different question. Because I think procrastination, sometimes we have that when we just don't want to do things, and we are lazy. We're just like, I don't feel like it right now. I'm going to do that later because it's not a priority. But when it's a bigger thing, sometimes there's energy around it, like fear or, there's something you're doing, and maybe you just don't want it that bad. So it's really asking yourself different questions to find out why.
The path to self-awareness is just so big.
It's constant.
I know. Knowing how you're coming off, and knowing how and being sort of consciously aware of your thoughts and
honest with yourself.
And body language, being aware of how your body is, and everything. There's so much. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so much.
What's your favorite part about coaching when you have your clients and you coach? Like, do you like drawing their... Oh, yeah. Do you like drawing their essence up to the surface of them that they didn't know they had embedded in them? Or is it more like, let's explore some new ideas maybe that I thought of, but maybe it wasn't on your radar, and you see them get excited about something? Like,
I think my favorite part is when people discover who they really are. And that always happens because sometimes you come to coaching when you feel like you have no place else to turn, or you have a certain goal you want to achieve and you need help with it and you've tried everything. And I think when you start working with someone who maybe is struggling a little bit, and you see them wake up to themselves, and you see them realize that they have the power to create anything they want for themselves in their lives, and that the light is within them, that is what excites me. When I get off the phone with someone and I have just had a session with someone that it's like they just feel happy, and they're like, this is what was achieved, and I get it, and they get themselves, and they're confident. That is what lights me up. That I love that part of it. I love when people discover themselves and discover their truth. I mean, I go through it too myself, and sometimes we just need that hand. Someone see things for you that you can't see for yourself. And then when you see them for yourself, that's the brilliant part for me.
That is really brilliant, because I know, like, our massage therapist that I've been going to for 15 years, she says that when what does she describe it as? Making love to the body. I mean, it's like this, she puts her heart and soul into giving a massage, and man, she's honestly the best, and it because her heart's behind it.
Right.
But she said that and we're like, how do you, because often Justin and I will go like back-to-back sessions. I'll read in the living room while he gets one, because she doesn't out of her home, and vice versa. And we're like, how do you do 2 1.5 hour massages back-to-back? And she said that she gains so much because she's in the zone. She gets almost like back what she gives out at the same time. And a lot of people say that, especially in the alternative health. Like when Mary Atala was on our show, she said she gets energized by giving out her energy, which is so strange. Some people, not so much. But it sounds like with you and your coaching, it's almost like you probably leave just as inspired by helping guide someone toward their aha moment or their passions or uncovering these things. You probably leave feeling more filled than what you just gave, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and that's so inspiring.
And it's interesting because that's sort of how I came about doing the work, and like that, I have it on my website, and the poem, the Hopi poem that I heard, and I know I've said it before, but that last line, it says, "We are the ones we've been waiting for," but I changed it to, you are the one you've been waiting for, because that, for me, that was the main aha moment for me. I was like, oh, I'm the one that has the answers. Oh, no one's going to tell me what to do. No one's going to give me... They're going to tell me their perspective. They're going to tell me what they see for me. But nobody knows what's for me. Nobody would have told me a year ago that you can create this podcast and talk to all these different people in this unique, diverse way. And there's going to be this, like... this group of people that are going to be this list that no one else in the world will have. Right. And it's going to impact you in ways that you'll never know. No one's going to say that's what's going to happen for you, And you are the one, like, I don't have anybody's answers for them. I can help them see what I see for them. I can hold space for what I see for them. And that's what we need. But for me, that was it. Like, oh, I've got it. And I just have to get there, discover it, Right. Yeah, which is the work.
Yeah, that is the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean by hold space?
Yeah, I love that.
When someone maybe doesn't believe in themselves or they want to achieve something that they can't see how it's going to happen, to have the intention around what it is they want for themselves, whether it's maybe a new career, a new income, a relationship, holding space to the possibilities of that is for them. So holding space of that energy of what they desire.
Yeah, that's a term that kept coming around about 6 months ago for both of us. I'd see it places, I'd see it online. I looked it up, and some people talked about holding space for another person. And I just thought, what is this whole holding space thing?
But you guys do this. You hold space. Everyone who's listening to your show, you're holding space for them to learn something that's going to impact their lives and help them have better health. Right?
Yeah.
You guys are doing unknowingly, it's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? You're
yeah.
holding space for good health to happen on the planet with the tools and resources that you're giving people through the conversations you're having with these amazing healthcare people.
Yeah. You know what's interesting too is that we do that unintentionally, though. We just, like you said earlier, I mean, a lot of the conversation is just for us. You know, we like to just talk to people but you're right. I mean, I guess it is sort of holding a space or creating some sort of platform for people to sort of pick at and eat from. And it's interesting you said that about listening to your own intuition, because we get so many people that write into us and they'll say, oh, so and so says to eat meat, and then this person says to eat raw food and vegan, and it's. I'm sure you get that too a lot, where when you're speaking with people, someone will say something and then someone says something contradictory, but ultimately we all have to look, like you said, and no one really knows what's best for me.
We are the ones.
But we have to look and see what's going to work for us in that moment during that time in our life. Maybe it serves for a while, but maybe doesn't serve forever.
Right. Like for some people, raw food works, right? And for others, that doesn't work. Or maybe it works part of the time, right? Or
it works for a period of 7 years and then your gut changes and you need to reassess.
Right.
But even with just success principles and everything
all of it. Yeah, all of it. I mean, we get really conditioned in some of the things we do for ourselves, right? And so it's always changing things up and learning something new, finding things that work and then finding more things that work. Right?
Yeah.
I think it's always not limiting ourselves and not putting boundaries on the possibilities of what would work for us.
Right.
And also it really is trusting ourselves and tuning into ourselves and asking, you have the answer, like, is this going to work for me? Does this feel right? And you get a yes, you get a no. We all do. And it's just a matter of if you're tuned into that. And that's the practice. The work is getting into hearing your answer and trusting it.
Yeah, because it's like what you're saying earlier, just trusting in your own intuition in that way. I mean, like, what are some ways that people can do that? I know meditation is
meditation
for that, right?
for sure. Yeah, meditation. Going to yoga or dance or any kind of class, active class, hula hooping.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's in touch with
there's
your body,
hula hooping.
Right?
Yeah, there really are.
There's hula hooping classes.
I love that. Community, a lot of community.
Yeah,
that's funny.
It's getting in touch with your body. And I just had an interview this morning, and she talked about body consciousness, and it's like getting in touch with what your body needs. And I think that's your energy, right? And connecting with what's
your
going on.
Feelings, right?
Yeah. Well, your actual body.
Yeah.
Like your body is telling you something, whether it's like pain or joy or, just noticing it and loving where you are with your body. But I think there's so many things you can do to get into your intuition. Journal, spend time journaling. Ask one question and journal about it. Ask yourself a question before you go to bed and sleep on it. See what the answer you get in the morning. But the thing is, if you ask yourself a question, maybe you have a decision to make and you want to ask yourself to sleep on it and have an unconscious answer come to you and a knowing in the morning. Ask the question. But when you wake up in the morning, you can't just hop out of bed and run and take a shower and brush your teeth and get on with your day. You got to give yourself the quiet space to let it come it through, right?
Yeah.
So wake up and be intentional, like, okay, what did I get? Did I get an answer? Did I dream about something? What was that? And that might be a little bit of journaling and time. I think it's just giving ourselves that space and time with ourselves, whether it happens when you're running or walking or whatever space, driving in traffic, and just listening to ourselves. It doesn't have to happen in a meditation or yoga class. It can happen when you're just with yourself, right?
Yeah.
It can happen in the shower. It can happen when we're in traffic. Maybe turn the radio off if you listen to the radio.
Yeah.
Be in quiet space. I'm not saying meditate in traffic if you turn your radio off. I'm just saying turn your radio off and just listen to your thoughts and ask yourself some questions. Be with yourself.
Yeah, that's something that's really hard to do for people, isn't it?
Because if you don't, you're like avoiding yourself.
You're
right?
avoiding yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see that. I mean, it seems like everything in our society is very much in the mind, and we worship and sort of bow down to intellect and people that are very smart and things like that, and we just worship the intellect. But when you get in touch with your body and your feelings in that way, it allows you to sort of see what you really want to do about something.
I love when Pastor Nar, our friend Pastor Nar, he wrote something on his Facebook like 6 months ago that said, "Stop dancing around the edge of yourself, dive in."
Ooh,
that stuck with me. That was just his thought. Nar would put like a thought of the day, and I go, wow, that was so powerful.
But think about it. There's so many things supporting us in avoidance, right? Just nonsense TV.
Right.
Nonsense. I mean, you can sit in front of the TV and watch something all day long that's not going to serve you. Is there sometimes a moment for that? Yeah, sure. I watch TV too. I'm not going to say that I don't, but I don't sit there for hours and go unconscious in front of it. No way.
Yeah.
So there's so many things and ways of being that support us to not be in touch with ourselves. So it really takes an effort for us to be in touch with ourselves.
Right.
Right? So that's just a moment of wherever you are in this moment, like what are you capable of right now?
Right.
Maybe you need to watch TV. That's okay. But maybe 5 minutes will be okay if you just sit with yourself. You don't have to sit cross-legged meditating, but you can just set some intentions for the day. Put your day in easy world where everything is easy, and then see what happens. And that sentence only takes a few seconds to say, and it will change your day. But you know what I mean? That's an intentional thing to do. And it's just giving yourself the space and the moment to do that.
It's sort of just turning everything off and tuning out a little bit and just tuning into yourself and just being intentional with that, because it's really easy. Like you said, there's so many things in our culture and society that support the way that human beings now just fear going within themselves. We don't want to go in because we know that we're going to say, I need to change my job, or I need to change my my health plan or my marriage. I need to change this get rid of these friends. And we're fearful of that, so we don't want to do it. So we, spend all of our days looking at screens and listening to things so that we don't have to face. Maybe only there's only 3 or 4 minutes a day where people actually do this, where they're quiet before they go to bed.
Yeah.
And then they're just trying to sleep, so they're not really doing it.
But you know what's so crazy is that we are the judge and juror of ourselves. So what if we were easy on ourselves?
I know.
What if we were nice to ourselves? What if we just loved ourselves? What if we just said, it's cool. Don't be so hard on yourself. I know you're in this space right now, but let's love where you are right here and now. Yeah, you're in a job you don't like. It's okay. Love where you are right now. And then, okay, let's figure out a way that we can move through this. What if we talk to ourselves really nice and kind, and we're non-judgmental about the extra 10 pounds or 5 pounds or, the change in our face and our wrinkles, whatever. We're the only ones that do that to ourselves. We might get the advertising hitting us, but we grab onto it, and then our egos take hold. And that's, the thing that's going off in our head is our ego, and we can turn that voice down, and part of it is, sitting and listening to it and then being like, man, I am so hard on myself. I am harder on myself than anybody else. What if you change that? Yeah. We have the power to do that as well. And I know it sounds hard because for some of us it doesn't feel like a choice, but it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that I was doing at the very beginning of the show is that I would have emails piling up, and I'm sure you do too. You have all these emails of people to get back to and things to do, and a whole to-do list. And I'd be thinking about that going to sleep, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could have done so much more today. I could have accomplished so much more, and this person's going to be upset if I don't get back to them, and blah blah blah. And then I would just be like, you know what? I did the best I could.
Yeah.
I did the best I could, and I really believe that because I did. I didn't sit around and watch TV all day and then, allow 10 minutes for work and then was bummed that I didn't get anything done.
Right. I
really did work all day, and so I just tell myself, you know what, you did the best you could. Just breathe into that, and I exhale, let it go, and it's like, I didn't get back to all these people. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Life will go on. everything will be fine. I did the best I could. If you really believe that, I mean, it helped me so much.
Yeah, it does. And then if you do that for yourself, and then you show up the next day saying, okay, I have the intention that these things are going to be easy, brilliant, and it's going to work really well, and it can be fast. A lot of times we put too much on the work we have to do, and it doesn't take as long as it actually takes.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that?
Yeah,
I've fiddled with a podcast and editing, and I'm like, really, this could take 15 minutes, but I don't know why I've been, messing around with it for 45 minutes for an hour.
I have that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can get into a flow that you can let things just kind of work and be easy. And okay, maybe yesterday I didn't get as much done because something took a little longer, or maybe you just weren't in the right energy for it.
Yeah.
And being in the flow with that. And for me, I think it's just reminding that it's giving yourself permission, right?
Yeah.
Permission to be where you are in the moments. Because I think a lot of it has to do with what wants to happen for us and not us forcing things.
So so it's almost like something wants to use us as a conduit of coming forth, bursting into the universe, and we are the ones that either we chose to be available for that, or it chose us, or however it's phrased. We're the conduit through which that wants to express itself.
Absolutely. Have you ever sat down to do editing on podcasts and nothing worked well?
Oh, yeah.
And you literally just had to stop and say, okay, I'm going to come back to this because it's not working. Like, it doesn't want to happen right then. And just being aware, like, okay, this doesn't want to happen right now. I'm not going to force it. And when I come back to it, it will be much easier. And then when you do come back, it becomes easier.
That's one thing that I struggle with. I have a hard time with that because I have this kind of thing where if I want to make some improvement on the website or add this little piece of functionality or this show, I get it in my mind to do it, and then if it starts sort of not working or whatever, I need to work on this because I'll do it, but then I'll say, okay, I will stay up till 4 a.m. and I will get this done. I don't care what it takes. That's my problem. That's my challenge. I should say that's my challenge.
That's the driven. I'm gonna make it happen for Justin. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I should just walk away and just say, what?
That is force, and sometimes that's you gotta walk away.
That's the bullheaded.
This
way
is called surrender.
Yeah.
This is where the letting go piece comes in, right?
Yeah, and then what's challenging about that is that if I would say, like for example, let's say if a particular podcast, like if I told a guest that it would be available, like last night was a perfect example. I was up till 2:00 in the morning, almost 2, because we do a newsletter and we had started it late, and so I worked all night on the newsletter, and then I told our previous guest, Dr. Steenblock, that it would be available on Monday. And so I made these prior commitments, and it's like a weird balance, There was no technological issue, so it wasn't as if there was something that was preventing me from doing it. It was more just that I had committed to something. And so...
Which there's something to be said about, being true to your word.
Well, that's integrity, right?
But I would like to have gone to bed at, 10 o'clock. That would have been nice.
But could you have told the truth and just said, hey, this isn't going to be up tomorrow, it'll be available on this date? That's still being an integrity. It's just sharing, where you are with something.
I think the reason why I probably didn't do that was because I want to be someone who's high integrity, and I do what I say I'm going to do. But that happens a lot with people. They overcommit to things, and then there's an issue there.
That's
when
my biggest problem.
Reality, I should have done what you said and said, 99% of the time I don't renege on my commitments. I do them, and this is just it's okay. Like.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We don't live in 1930 anymore where everything's so rigid and we have to,
right.
It's like, it's okay to just flow and write that person an email saying, sorry, I can't do this.
Right. And that's just being in your truth, know, because honestly, I wouldn't want you being up late just because you said something, because if you made a commitment to me, and is it going to make or break my day? Maybe not. Depends on what the commitment is, right? But if you were to send in a nice email saying, hey, I know I said this, but it's going to be this date instead, that would be perfectly fine with me, depending on the situation, right? And in this, like a podcast, in this interview situation, absolutely.
And depending on who you are, but what if you're someone, because a lot of people have a hard time with change of plans. And
Right.
so what if you're dealing with someone, this was completely me years
I'm like,
ago.
someone had a problem with the change of plans.
No, I do really well with change of plans now.
You do. You have grown immensely. in
Yeah,
that
I
area.
feel like I've made a lot of progress
You've
in
changed.
that. But some people will make a plan with someone else, and that other person will be really meticulous and hold them to it. And then it's just this weird cycle, right, where the person that made that plan with the other person, like maybe one of us, that other person is not necessarily conscious and aware, and they're just sort of, things have to happen, you know.
A
And
certain specific way.
and then we put all this pressure on ourselves to do that. And we don't let ourselves just say, you know what, let's have this be an opportunity for growth for that person. You know, I want to go to bed at 10
Totally.
tonight, so let's make it an opportunity for growth for that person. You know, and sometimes you could be a conduit
to not be
in
ruffled
that
by
way.
that.
But then you have to be okay with that as well. You have to just
Right.
flow and
Well, and if you're aware of a relationship that has that situation, you know, it's how you approach it, how you're committing to things. So I think that it's your awareness going into it, right? But
yeah.
it's also speaking your truth at the time, you know, like, and not being held so accountable to other people's expectations. You got to have your own expectations too. And I mean, be in integrity, of course.
Right.
But, and sometimes, yeah, you've got to stay up till 2 a.m. Yeah, that happens. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but it's important to be in your truth. And then if that is persistent in a particular relationship, then it's looking at that relationship. Maybe it's not a relationship you want to be in if it creates something on your end, you know, because that's a lot of ego and control is what I hear. Not on your part, but maybe the other person's part.
Yeah. And two, it allow you to have an opportunity, like let's say this person's a family member or a spouse or friend that you can't control,
Yeah.
you can't really get rid of. It allows you to
You can't get rid of it.
it allows you to be aware
At
of
least
the,
you-
Not talking about me here.
no, but it allows you to be aware of the words you use. So instead of speaking so quickly and overcommitting and then biting your tongue thinking, oh, I shouldn't have said that, it gives you an opportunity to say, all right, when I'm around this person who's very demanding, I can say, I could be very, cogent with the words that I use,
Right. It sounds like being more responsive than reactive. And it might be in sometimes relationships like that when people are maybe pushing you to give an answer that you're not ready to commit to or something, that you just take a
Yeah.
beat, take a beat and say, you know what? It sounds like a great idea, but can I get back to you on that? Because I'm not sure where I'll be on this date to deliver on that date.
Yeah.
And so it's not that you're not committing, but it's just what wants to happen for me, especially if you've got that back and forth, especially if it's like a family member or a friend
Right.
that is in your life. You've got to learn how to be in that space too, and asking for what you need. I've got to think about it and not say yes.
Let me sleep on it.
Let me sleep on
get
it.
back to you.
Yeah.
Because we're so very much don't necessarily want to say no to people,
Right.
Okay, you've been doing this a lot lately, which has been really cool to hear you do. Is that
Using my no?
You'll say no. I think
found
it's
my no.
I think it's super powerful to say no to people.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
on one level, it's really cool to say yes to opportunity and say this year I'm going to accept, and if things come my way, I'm saying yes to personal growth and things. But then also to protect yourself and your space, saying no. I mean,
I've
you've
said
done
no
this a
up
lot.
and down the wazoo, and let me tell you, it is powerful. And I feel more growth in saying no more often this year than saying yes. I do.
What do you feel when you say the no? Like, what happens for you?
Well, I get my power back. I
Right.
realize I've been giving my power away my whole life, and very empathic person. It's like I just have said yes my whole life without, when even the Bible verse that says like let your yes be yes and your no be no. I would say yes all the time when inside I was screaming no, and so finally I just decided to be real and let my real response align with what came out of my mouth.
And if they don't like
And
it,
if they don't like it, and I've lost some friends. I've had people back away from me going, I don't know who this new empowered person is, and it scares them. But I realize that's not my issue. It's not my no isn't making you. Your own ego is making yourself upset about this. Saying no to something isn't the.
Because you say no very kindly, but
Of course
you're
I
still
do,
saying
yeah.
no.
And sometimes I'll ask Justin, like, oh, was that too harsh, or should I? And he's like, that's like a normal nice person says it like that. Like, you're just so. I've been so over the top nice to people for so long, which there's nothing wrong with, but I feel like I got stepped all over, So
Yeah.
my saying no, which sometimes sounds harsh, I guess it's probably a really nice way to say no, like that most people would say no.
You've got to know your no.
Gotta know your no.
You've got to know your boundaries for yourself and
Yeah.
what works for you. And we play roles with people, right? And then when we have our own self-discovery, you realize, oh, that does not serve me anymore. I can't just be yes to everybody.
It's really powerful.
It is. It's a really powerful point. And that's being responsive and not reactive, right? Especially if you're a yes all the time.
Yes.
What are you saying? Yeah, what do you mean by those two different words?
Responsive versus reactive?
Yeah.
So when we're reactive sometimes, well, not sometimes, when we're being reactive, you might be your knee-jerk reaction, right? Maybe you're going to blow up at somebody. Maybe you're going to say yes because you always say yes, or maybe you're going to say no because you always say no.
Okay.
You know, whatever that is, your reaction is like visceral, right? And being responsive is like taking a beat. So someone asks you a question, you're not sure. Your initial reaction might be, yes, of course I'll do that for you. I can show up for you on Saturday. And then you take a beat and think of it and you're like, oh, shoot, I had a prior commitment. Why did I do that? Now I'm in this situation. But before you have any response or reaction, you want to take a moment, right? Does this work for me? Can I be responsive, being thoughtful and mindful? Okay. You know, being responsive is being thoughtful and mindful. And I think of it more for yourself than anything.
Yeah.
You know, like what works for me in this situation instead of, you know, it's like also getting in traffic. You get in traffic and it's like, rawr, you know, I'm a little bit crazy in traffic. I just am. I'm born that way, right?
Mad woman in a mad Prius.
It makes me, it just triggers a nerve for me. Yeah. And I'm born that way. In one of my horoscope books, it says this whole little thing about you like to drive aggressive in traffic, and I'm like, really? How do they know that?
Wow.
So I'm born, it's in my stars. But you know, I'm a really nice, kind person. You might not ever see that in me, but for whatever reason. But that's my reaction in traffic, or if someone does me wrong on the road, living in California. I don't know, it makes me upset.
So basically, don't get in front of her.
Right. So being more responsive in that situation, I've stopped being like that in ways where I feel it maybe flare up, like, oh, so much traffic. Maybe I'll listen to something and do something different. My response is, how can I make this, you know, a blissful place on the 405 right now in traffic? Because it's going to take me an hour to go, you know, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my new response to it. Like, how can I make this work for me? That's my response there, instead of my reaction of frustration. And it's not that I'm going to cut people off. It's just my own energy, right?
I had that happen this last week with the family dinner we had, where something really ticked me off leading up to the dinner, and I thought, I'm not going. I'm making a point. I'm going to be right. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm not going to show up. And that was my initial knee-jerk reaction, where I was like, I totally reacted. And then within 10 minutes, I was like, okay, is it more important to be right or to ask myself, what could I miss out of this by letting my ego become so big just to make a point? Like, I didn't want to not go just because I was going to be right, but I thought I'll miss out on seeing my family that's hardly ever in town for the last time before I see them next year. And it was one of those things where I thought, what's worth it here, to be right or to be full of grace and still learn something with a boundary and not say everything's okay and that thing still made me upset, but not to like punish myself for it too, because I was going to miss out on.
Right.
You know, it was kind of a funny dynamic, but I thought, wow, that was that whole reaction versus backing up and then choosing a different route.
I mean, that's what makes us human. I mean, you look at a dog and like Maggie will see a white dog and she just
ballistic.
There's no reaction time between when she sees the dog versus her choking herself to death because she's barking at it. There's just no time. It's like a nanosecond. But that's what happened. I mean, that's what separates us from
Animal
the
Kingdom.
lower animals, is that we're able to take a beat like that and have that ability to sort of think about something and at least say, like you said, you know, let me just think about this for a day or get back to you tomorrow. Can I get back to you tomorrow? And you ask them a question that requires them to answer in the affirmative,
right? So
that they have to say something yes, so it makes them feel good. But it's just being aware of all that in a split second, which
that takes practice, man.
Well, and that goes back to knowing your intuition, right? The more practice you do, the quicker that's going to come to you. So in a second, when someone asks you a question, I've been there too. They ask you a question and you're going to say yes or oh yeah, that sounds great, and they walk away and you're like, what? I don't want to do that. You know,
right?
But you just take you just take a deep breath, and then and you hear your answer, right? If you're connecting to yourself and you have a clear mind and head in that moment, like tomorrow you might not have a clear mind and head. You know, so it's just taking a moment, and it could be just a deep breath, like, or doing a you know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if that feels right for me. And it really is just getting comfortable with speaking your truth. Because if I had a friend that I put in a situation and they were uncomfortable and they said, that doesn't feel right to me, I might have to think about it. I'd be like, cool. You know?
Right.
And I would hope people would be that way. But we're all on different paths, right? So it's just finding our truth and speaking our truth in those moments. And sometimes we get it right and sometimes we don't. I mean, that's where we've got to be easy on ourselves.
Yeah, and I think also, too, being okay with going back to that person. Like, let's say that happened where, you know, the boss says, hey, can you come in on Saturday? And you want to impress the boss. So you say, yeah, I'll come in on Saturday. Not realizing that you committed to something, some trip with your wife or your kids or family. And then just being okay with going back to the boss and saying, you know, listen, I think, like you said, speaking your truth, if you go back to the boss and you say something like, you know what, I responded way too quickly. I didn't think, and I really apologize. And I'm sorry what this, did to you. But I'm going to have to back out of this because I did have a prior engagement, but I didn't realize it at the time because I wanted to, help the company out so much as my first reaction. And so I think speaking your truth like that, if you just go and say, sorry, I can't do it now, but really speaking your truth, I think will solve a lot of those issues as well.
And you've got to get to know what that is.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes practice to find, for some people, maybe for some people it's really easy, but for most of us, it takes a little bit of practice to sort of have that discovery, that self-discovery, and go down this journey of life and wake up. It's having that wake up moment of what's going on in my life? What do I want to happen? Who do I want to be? I want to be kind and loving and compassionate, but I don't want to be walked on. I don't want to be a yes man or yes woman. I want to be someone who has boundaries, but is limitless, Yeah. And so it's really, who am I is the question.
Weird balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think your truth changes? Is there such a thing? Or do you just think that the truth for you is the truth and it's just like kind of going off and making a U-turn and coming back to not necessarily your truth changing, but you finding it a different way?
I mean, I feel like it's an evolution, right? Because what might be true for you now might not be true for you next week or 5 years from now.
It'd be so much easier if we just had a manual like, this is your truth, now go find it.
Hi, my name is Amy.
Oh, man. It would be, I guess it would be boring.
Yeah, but people maybe wouldn't go find it.
It's confusing, though. Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
But, you might, like, think about the things you might be up to in the next year. A year ago, was that true for you?
No, you're right.
So
no, it wasn't.
It changes. And I think the more discovery we have, the more things come up that are closer to our truth. I mean, isn't that the path of life? We're all here to discover our truth. Some of us will, some of us won't. It doesn't mean it's not a good or bad or a right or wrong thing. It just is what it is with evolving consciousness, I think, at this time. But for me, the point is, I want to find my truth. I want to speak my truth. I want to be the best I can be. I want to do this work that I know I'm up to because now I know. Now I know this is what I'm up to.
Right.
And let's this unfold, Like a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have known I would have had some of these amazing conversations or even be sitting here with you two on the other side of this mic. Yeah. This wasn't in anything, but it speaks to my truth now, and what I'm up to and reaching and touching people. So, allowing those things to happen. Brilliant things happen when you start recognizing who you really are and remembering who you really are. Yeah.
Yeah, you start living in the flow more. Opportunities start to happen, present themselves. Weird circumstances where you're spoken to in strange ways. If people come up to you and say things that are just completely off the wall, but you've been thinking about it for a week, and that person is like the third person that day to mention some weird, strange word.
Right.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
We have that a lot.
We have it a lot.
You guys have it?
Amy and I, every time we talk, I go, what? And she goes, like just last week we talked and she had somebody tell her something that was actually, she goes, I don't know why my cousin or whatever was telling me this. And I go, that was for me. And sure enough, it was for me. It was like people can sometimes you're just the conduit. Like, this is so cool. My next door neighbor, Teresa, love her. She's the coolest person. We're so like-minded. We've been neighbors for 5.5 years, but we're just getting to like go, wow, we're so much alike. We had no idea. And we're both big fans of Louise Hay. And so she started this thing. Actually, I started this thing where I would write a an affirmation in chalk outside of her house because we're both into really reading her book and writing affirmations all over the place. So I wrote her an affirmation. She walked out, was just so excited by it. Well, the next day I walk out down my stairs. There's this chalk affirmation.
It's
You probably saw
I
it.
saw it,
on Instagram, yeah.
It's really cool. And so we kept doing this to each other and stuff. Well, it was like a night mission last week. I think it was dark, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go get the chalk and like be, totally in the dark, just like writing this thing. So when she wakes up, there's this great affirmation. And I had one in my mind that I thought was perfect. But as I put the chalk to the sidewalk, this bizarre sentence came into my mind, and it was like, it wouldn't leave me alone. I thought, that's not the affirmation I'm going to write her. But it was like, no, this is the whatever. It didn't even make any sense. I don't remember what it was now, but it made no sense. And so I was just like, okay. So I wrote this thing in chalk, put it down. I thought, she's going to think I'm bizarre.
This
like,
was what time? Was this like in the evening?
At 9:30, because I did it all in the dark. I went to go change the laundry, and I'm like, haha, no one will see me. Night mission.
I had no idea you did this.
Yeah.
How funny.
And so she woke up the next morning, and I got this text, and she goes, oh my gosh, that affirmation you chalked last night was perfect for Mike, her husband. She goes, that was exactly what and Mike kind of laughs at us, thinking we're all kind of airy-fairy doing this weird stuff. And she goes, he walked out, and it said, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to change. And that had nothing to do with what Teresa had been going through at the time. Hers was more like healing and, like nothing about change. And she said Mike had been struggling with change for the past 2 weeks. And when he saw that, she goes, wow, Mike actually goes, wow, I think that chalk was for me and not even for you.
Wow.
So I thought, wow, listening to your intuition and trusting the process, and just, I said yes to that because I couldn't say no to it. It was very strange.
And what's fun about that
very
is
synchronistic.
It wasn't about you. And you trusting you allowed someone else to have what they needed in that moment.
Yeah.
It's so much bigger than us.
I'm able to change. It is bigger than us. And
yeah.
I thought, and you can't fight that stuff.
No, and think about the things that you miss out on sharing when you say no to that flow that comes through. Like, think of the times that you've maybe heard, like, oh, go do that. Go to the beach today. And you're like, no, I need to sit in this room and edit, and I do these things that I have this long list of to-dos. But what if you went to the beach and something genius happened that wasn't on your schedule?
Yeah.
And think about the times when that has happened, and you're like, oh,
why don't I do this all the time?
I would have never met that person. Yeah, I would have never met that person or had that connection had I not followed and listened. That happens to me all the time, and it at first it seemed kind of bananas. Like, I can't believe I went to Starbucks, or I went down to the store, or I turned left when I usually turn right, and this happened.
Completely.
Always. It happens to me all the time. Now I just trust it. Now I have some adventures in my day, and I'm like, I didn't know this was going to happen.
You and I are very wired like that, the same.
Yeah.
I think it's for everyone. I think everyone is for everyone, but not everyone reaches out and takes it.
Oh, I'll tell you, I was super resistant for a really long time.
To what?
I mean, just all of it. My life had to sort of blow up, and me be miserable in my corporate job. And, I was getting all kinds of hits of change this, do that, and I was like, no, why would I do that? I mean, I would have these conversations with myself. I can't imagine where I would be now if I would have followed those leads. And it doesn't matter because it's all perfect. But it happened for me for a really long time, and I ignored it. I was like, I'm not comfortable. I wasn't comfortable trusting myself, But
it waited for you to say yes, and it kept coming around.
Definitely.
Look at circumstances as lessons, and then you can grow so quickly.
Yeah. And those lessons lead to where you are and what you're doing, and if you allow it to, and teach on another level. For me, those lessons for me have allowed me to be a better coach, a better teacher, a better maybe interviewer, to connect on different levels. So I needed all those lessons, to know that when you say no to those things, you're keeping yourself and others from mighty, mighty gifts that are meant to happen. Because we're here and there's no plan for us, but there's a plan for us if we would listen.
I feel like you put it really well this year. It was a couple months ago, or maybe 6 months ago, when you said, I basically, right after we had spoken on our last interview, when we had you in studio, I got hit with this whole download to write this book, and this project I'm working on right now behind the scenes. And I remember Justin said, is it the kind of thing where, God, the universe, gives you this thing only so many times, and you keep saying no, finally it stops coming your way. I'll find somebody else to do that work that's going to say yes. And I felt like that was like, okay, I'll say yes to this book because it's something that I know is for me. But if I kept saying no for years and years and never wrote the book, I feel like the universe or God will find someone else to get the work out into the world if that's what it's supposed to be. And I'm like, I want to be the person. I want to, like, there's some things that you're like, if God's going to pass me up after so many times because I'm just not connecting with what I feel like my soul's purpose is because I'm scared or afraid or lazy, then it's going to pass me by. So I think it's kind of a really cool thing that you said that, though. Like, how many times are you going to get looked over until God's like, nope, I'm going to have to pass on you. I love you. I'll give you other opportunities, but you keep saying no. So
it's like he's, there's a constant knock, and he wants something to happen. But in that sense, it's like you want to be a yes person, because you know it's something deeper than just some opportunity that may or may not be for you that stresses you out, but this is something more of a life's calling or a deeper thing that you need to say yes to.
And all the synchronicities lined up, and then you're still like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll play it safe. Like,
but you're right. I mean,
it's more exciting.
It seems as if if you keep saying no or keep not realizing there's lessons or keep closing off and not looking at yourself, it seems like, okay, whatever that is, whatever creative force and energy that is, will find some other avenue to express itself, and meaning another person. And so if you're open and available, that could be you, and that could serve you in terms of you growing a lot from writing that book and doing those things too,
I think we're constantly been giving hits. We're being given hits, and it's just, will you grab it now or will you grab it later? And those hits change. Like for you, it's a book right now. Will it have changed to something else later? Maybe. I think we're constantly getting hits like that, and it's just a matter of how open and receptive we are to allowing it in,
and whether or not we recognize it. Right. Some people like, I didn't even recognize that the blocked traffic could be the things that are blocking my life.
I didn't either.
So it's just like recognizing events in your life representing the emotional, spiritual side of your life, and where you are with that.
Right.
I never thought of traffic like that.
And then it kind of blew my mind. I was like, what?
Well, also just asking different questions about the situations, in a positive way. What's possible from here? What wants to happen from here?
Because there's a reason you're sitting in traffic.
Right. So or anything that you're doing, like if perhaps for me, people stop saying yes and I have no interviews to share, what's the question I would ask? Okay, what wants to happen next? And allowing something to come through and not letting my mind get all crazy about it. Like, you're done, you're over, blah, It's just allowing the answer to come through. And that's that flow piece, You know
that guy, Mike Dooley?
Yeah.
He was on the Hay House Summit in 2014. And he was talking about, really cool, just like what you said. He makes his living, I think he started out selling T-shirts, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And then built up a huge, big company doing that. But then now he does sort of motivational, personal growth kind of stuff. And during that interview, he said, you know what? It's not really about the speaking that I do, the audio programs that I do, the books that I write, the seminars I give. If all of that shut down tomorrow, it doesn't matter, because I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And whether I have to do it some other way, or there's going to be some other opportunity, or whatever, whatever way the conduit changes, for this to get out, I'm okay with any of it, because I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm doing what I love to do, and it doesn't really matter how it comes out and expresses itself.
Right.
And so it's kind of cool, where you're just talking the same thing about if all the interviews dried up and there's no one else to talk to.
Yeah, what opportunity does this bring now? What's next?
Something will be next.
Right. Do you guys get his notes from the universe?
Yeah, we do.
They're amazing. I mean, I've been getting those for so many years, and I swear I open them and I'm like, how does he know? Like that day, I'm like, hey, that was just for me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that says that. And I know there's like probably 1 million people on his list by now, but it's like, that's just for me. Yeah. So he, he's onto something with his work and how he's connected with people, and same with you guys. I think the way will show itself to us. We just have to be available and allowing, and in a spacious space for ourselves,
right,
and out of our heads. Most of the issues come because our ego wants it to be a certain way, because we've decided that, or we have a belief about that, or we've been told that and we were trained that way, not realizing that along the way, that things can kind of happen in lots of various new different ways.
and being open to that.
It's way more exciting to live that way. I love that.
You know, one thing too, sort of closing out a little bit, but you know, one of the things too, I think what you were saying is so true, is speaking your truth to people. And I think that that's something that, you know, we bottle so much stuff up in this culture, don't we? Mm-hmm. And we get mad. And I mean, that's kind of like why you see the road rage and the people overreacting to seemingly innocuous, inane, minor situations. People just go berserk. You know,
that word, berserk.
Yeah, it's just, I think it is a result of not speaking your truth in the moment, of not
and in love
having sort of maybe even a physical way of hitting a punching bag or working out or getting that energy that comes onto you off of you.
Hula hooping it out. I was going to say work it out.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, even though, you know, we could do these other things, it's important to also physically get those energies off you.
Yeah,
you know?
Move the energy. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I mean, it's a huge thing. And I think people that, I think a lot of people are very yes man, yes woman, and they say things that they know they shouldn't be agreeing to.
Well, we also live in a lot of mediocrity, dare I say that. You know, like, don't rock the boat, you know, do this job, make this living, have this family, live this way. And I don't think that serves us anymore. You know, we're breaking free of some of that mediocrity. And there's a lot of people doing different things. And it's about being conscious. It's about being aware of your feelings and your emotions in your body and talking about it and sharing it and breaking free of some of those old stereotypes that we have in our culture. And things are changing. I mean, I know you guys know it. Look at what you guys do and talk about. It is like alternative beyond alternative. You talk about some really crazy bananas things to some people. I'm sure people think some of it's crazy talk and bizarro, right?
Yeah.
But it's really important what you guys are talking about and sharing and putting out in the world, and it's needed right now. It's so needed. But there's so many people that aren't willing to speak up and speak the truth because there's all these restrictions and restraints on us, and people get in trouble, and you know, and there's a lot of fear, you know,
and what other people think.
What other people think, and just how we're controlled. You know, we're controlled in a lot of ways that we don't necessarily realize, you know? And so I think just being ourselves alone, I mean, we go to school and we're told how to be and behave, and that starts in the beginning.
And what's normal, what's not.
Yeah, and that's not true for everybody, you know? So it's no wonder that we grow up and we become in our 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever age when you're like, wait a minute, this no longer works for me. I'm going to break free of what I was told and I'm going to be who I am. And it doesn't mean be some crazy whatever. Like, it's not like go do the exact opposite of what you're doing if that seems so bananas, but it might just be stepping into something you love about your life that you haven't expressed yet. Maybe it's surfing, maybe it's art, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's, you know, it could be anything, writing a book, doing something you haven't maybe tried before. And then all of a sudden your creative energy starts expressing, and then things shift and life happens and joy happens all over.
Yeah. And I think you start living in the flow more. It's like tuning a guitar, you know, the strings are the exact same note, and when you spend time on doing things that you really resonate with you, like all my life I wanted to be a cook, or all my life I wanted to do this art, and I'm 50 years old now, and now I want to start doing some of that. I think that's where the magic is. I think people wake up and they think, you know, I should have answered this call earlier.
Yeah.
You know, but they can still answer.
There's a reason they didn't, though.
And I think what people don't realize either is it doesn't mean you have to go out and make that like your life's work and make a living from it. It's just being the expression of the joy of it. You can have your job and make your living doing what you're doing. That's perfectly fine. But what happens is when you have that creative outlet, you bring more joy back to everything you do. Maybe your job becomes fun again, or tolerable, or you start liking the people you work with when before you just like, this stinks. You know? And maybe it's like, oh, I don't mind my job anymore. I'm happy here. It's not that big a deal.
Because I'm getting this other side of me balanced out.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Exactly.
So do you work with people? You work with people via Skype, or people come and see you, or how does it work with the coaching process?
I do everything over the phone or Skype.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything is, one-on-one and over the phone. I do business consulting too, but that's mostly local. And I actually go work with them face-to-face, but that can happen over the phone too. So it's, the way I work is, we sign up and we create a relationship, and it's a month-to-month, on a month-to-month basis, because coaching is really about that relationship and cultivating something together. And it, to get the momentum and the change, it takes time, a little bit of time.
Do you give them, how does it work? Do you give people items to do, or how does it sort of work?
You mean in between sessions, they leave with something to work on between?
Yeah.
Kind of
like, do they come to you and they want to say, you know what, I want to work on my, let's say reaction to things instead of responding to things. And so how do you work with people? Do they come in with a specific ideas of what they want?
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they just know that they're looking for something to change in their lives. They're looking for something more. It's based on various reasons. So I work with women or people with life and business. So I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's really intermingled. Sometimes our business is going nowhere because there's something in our life that needs to shift, or vice versa. And our belief systems are intertwined, right? What you believe for yourself is what you believe in your life and relationships, or maybe your business and relationships. So people come with an idea of what they want to work on and create, and then it's all customized too for what's going on with the person. So there's not like a formula that's this,
because there's no standard human.
There is no standard human.
Dr. Massey says, I love that. There's no standard human, so there's not a standard process.
That's right. That's right. And so I create what will work for them, and then as I build the relationship with people, I see what they need and then support them there and hold space with what they need, because everyone responds differently to it. And it's always great to show up to coaching with a willingness. I love to work with people who are coachable. And sometimes we don't know we're not coachable, but a willingness.
Until you realize you're digging your feet in and you're like, what?
Right. And so like a willingness to do the work, really, and do the practice as it shows up. A lot of it for me is intuitive. I feel into what people are up to and needing, and it's not something I've decided that needs to share with them, and then I do, and people might be like, what are you talking about?
Boy, that Kate needs an attitude adjustment.
But
I don't know how to tell her.
But it's so it's just kind of that flow, and but it's an interesting thing. I love to be a part of people's transformation and evolution.
You see people probably grow their wings and kind of leave the nest.
So much. It's such an awesome thing. I love it. I love it. Yeah, that, like I said earlier, that discovery when someone realizes who they really are and the possibilities that actually they achieve, whether we're working together or after the fact, that they align with it and click with themselves. That's the most important thing, to know that you are the one, like you've got what you need. Sometimes, we need a tune-up, or we need to ask someone what they think, what the possibilities are, and you need those different ideas and support. But I've had it too. I have a coach. I've had coaches. When my life started getting, not blowing up, but when things started changing, I hired a coach. And then I went into a career class, and then all these things started changing just because I started inquiring, what can I do differently for my life? Because this is not, I can't do this for the rest of my life. It's pretty miserable, and that's when I got curious. And so that's who I am, really. I'm a seeker. I'll talk to anybody. I'll start asking questions, and that really serves me. But it only serves me if I listen to the answers and then follow that.
Because what I think a lot of people are stuck in is this idea that, my life is horrible right now, but I have no idea what I want or who I am or what I should do. All I know is that the way it is right now, I can't do this forever. I can't do this for even another year or 6 months.
They've just kind of given up.
They've kind of they feel defeated, or they've given up, and so having someone like this, essentially, it would be nice to surround yourself with friends and family that would do this for you, but a lot of times they're all in the same boat too. So it becomes like this big complaint fest.
Well, sometimes too, those are the beliefs you want to break. Sometimes they're family beliefs, that generational, and they don't see you the same way that you see yourself, or they might believe in you, of course, but they might not give you the same guidance.
Yeah.
And they might want to keep you where you are. Like Kate, you said earlier about friends who you changed. People are comfortable with where you are
when they met you, or how they.
And when you start changing and becoming stronger and empowered and making different decisions and doing different things, people freak out. They don't like that. Yeah, they don't like it. Like, who are you? We liked you over there. Quiet and
in this nice little box.
Yeah, I have friends like that. You know, like we were liked it when you were quiet, because I'm a quiet person. You know, I don't have to take up the whole room. I can observe everything.
Hang out in the back.
Totally. But I also have a voice. You know, if you wrong me, I'm going to speak up. If there's an injustice, I'm going to speak up pretty fierce. But that doesn't always show. If you were in my car, sometimes you might hear that in the back seat
on the 91.
Yeah, totally.
5 o'clock on a Friday night.
Totally.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, but it's cool to know, you know, to have that in your life. I think to have people in your life that can be that way for you, and not a lot of people do it. So that's why it's cool you're doing the work you do, because people need an outside perspective that's not their family, because obviously someone is listening to this and they're growing and their family's not going to accept them, or their friends are not going to accept them, or they're going to make fun of them. And so it's cool to have some outside person with some unique insights.
Yeah, and it's support. Growth. It's really support. We all need support and community in whatever it is we're choosing to do and put on in our lives and become. And it could come from a book, it could come from a Facebook community, right? Or something. I mean, there's something for everyone out there right now. Right. And so there's so many ways of finding it, but it really is just anything is possible for having and finding that support in
it's a really
a particular
neat time to be
instance.
alive, isn't it? For
that,
it
is.
It's cool though, because we got into health, and you know, it's fun because health ultimately leads to emotional, spiritual. I think.
Oh yeah.
You know, personal growth, development, all that stuff. The health is just sort of the physical components of what we eat and things, but it's fun because when you get on this journey and you start really getting on board with it and start learning what's possible in life and where you could go and the impact you could have, and then you realize, shoot, if I want to do this, then what type of person do I need to become in order to be that or to do that? Then it's like, okay, wow, then I need to have all these other skills, or I need to have this personal growth. So when you get on this path, it just becomes this, all of a sudden, I can imagine you could live till 900 years old, and in year 800, you'd be like, I don't even know how I got here.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's, you know, it's such a fun journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we let it be, right?
Yeah.
If we aren't so crazy about it with ourselves and judgmental and just really easy on ourselves and love ourselves through it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I think fun. That could be fun.
Who said that quote? Life's either a daring adventure or nothing. Was that?
A daring adventure or what?
Or nothing.
Or nothing.
Is that Amelia Earhart, or I'll have to look that one up, but I love that. To me, that's kind of how life is. It either is or it isn't, but living the opposite just does not sound fun to me. It's a lot safer, it seems.
And it's so funny you say that about adventure, because in an interview I did this morning, she said that, like, let life be your adventure, let the joy of business be your adventure. And when you have that perspective, you might be easier on yourself if it fails or something fails, because failure is part of your success, right? And if it's just an adventure, that just means what fun is going to happen in front of me today.
You're right.
Versus, you know?
I mean, it's like for us, I'm just thinking about this for us, like, you know, it's so much fun for us to speak with you and to have this unique insight to things. And, you know, if this is an ultimate failure, this interview, if one person hears it, it almost doesn't really matter, because Kate, you and I heard it.
Right.
And this is just fun. We'd do this anyway. Yeah. And so you kind of, like, for me in this particular instance, it's fun being a little bit selfish and just being, you know what, that was for me.
Right.
You know, if other people, you know, get joy from it, that's awesome. But, you know, just for the end itself is the reward in terms of, like, the joy of just doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing it to, like, I'm not going to interview Dr. Mercola so I could get all of his people. If he's saying something that's really fascinating that I want to learn about, I'd love to talk to him, even if he has no fans.
Right.
It's just because I want to talk to really interesting people.
Right.
Just for me.
Yeah, the impact it has on you, fun, which you don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah. You don't know. You might have that aha from something they say, and you're like, whoa.
And that kind of ties back to what you said earlier about just, you know, how does this situation benefit me, or how is it going to affect me when you're saying yes to your boss? I'll come in on a Saturday. It's at some point, or sometimes we have to be a little selfish and just be like, you know what, I need to check how this is for me.
Yeah.
And,
be honest,
more
selfish
selfish
with yourself.
Being more selfish. I don't think we're selfish enough.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for women, we put everybody else in front of us, as mothers, as daughters, as sisters, as wives, as partners. And it's natural for us to be nurturers, but sometimes the last person we nurture is ourselves.
Yeah.
And that doesn't serve anybody, least of all, ourselves. So it's good to be selfish,
Yeah.
And it's good to ask that question, like, how's this going to serve me?
Right.
Who do I need to be in this situation to achieve what I want? Like you were saying earlier about something, a goal. And then it's like, if someone's asking you for something, it's like, well, how is this going to serve me? And I don't mean that in a selfish, I'm not going to do it, but just, what can I get out of this as well?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're not going to get anything out of it. And that's okay if you're up to something that you get nothing out of. But we want to be thoughtful.
Yeah.
Really thoughtful.
Yeah, that's really cool. A little balance, because we're so overly balanced the other way, saying yes to everything and putting everyone else first,
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Helen Keller.
Keller
Life is
said that?
either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Pretty good.
I like it. All right, so people can get a hold of you at inspiredconversations.net
Yes.
to listen to all your podcasts. Are you at liberty to say who you had on today?
Oh, I'm going to leave it a secret,
Yeah,
so
leave it a
you
secret?
go find out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
And AmySchuber.com, right?
And AmySchuber.com.
Not
that's-
Amy Schumer.
Not Amy Schumer.
Not the comedian. I bet she has road rage, too.
What if you saw her on the freeway?
I think I would tell her I have the same name.
That'd be so funny.
I would wave.
That'd be funny.
I also have something to offer, too. So if people go to guide.amyschuber.com,
Oh, really?
they can get my ultimate life guide, which will have the answer for them to the single most important thing keeping them from living the life they love.
That's awesome. So
Why have I not done that?
Guide.amyschuber.com.
SCHUBER.
Yep.
AmySchuber.com.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there and check it out.
Me too.
Oh, cool. It's the single most
But
important
we have
thing
you in
keep-
person. We could ask you instead of taking the online test. No,
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited.
Is that a picture of you in the
great.
background?
Yeah, that's actually me
That's really cool.
in action.
Yeah, I can't see it yet.
Those are those. Kate's been making those things in the background there, but these look like
Oh.
really fancy.
It's gigantic, isn't it?
What are they called?
It's right behind you,
yeah, the
too.
Dreamcatcher.
A
right?
Dreamcatcher, yeah.
Dreamcatcher. Oh, wow.
That's really cool.
Check that out.
Were you giving a talk there? Was that like
Yeah, I was at an event
Oh,
speaking.
your site rocks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been really into. Hey, they look just like mine with the sticks.
But those are really big, aren't they?
They're
Wow.
gigantic, yeah.
That would be neat to have in here.
That's cool. I like that.
I'm inspired in more ways than one. I'm inspired by a conversation and by this art work.
Where was that talk?
That's beautiful.
It was actually in Costa Mesa at an event. It was
the
amazing.
Creative. The one I've always thought was so cool.
Yeah.
Darn, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
You go,
So
Amy
people can
Schuber.
just sign up right there, and then they can download it.
Yep, if you just sign up where it says download, and then you'll be able to download it. You'll put in your name and email, and you'll be able to download it.
Nice.
The single most important thing keeping you from living a life you love.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put a link to this particular thing in the show notes. So this is episode 388, right?
Got it.
Okay, so if you guys want to check out the show notes to any of the things we talked about a lot of books, a lot of different things, a lot of different websites. It'll be at extremehealthradio.com/388. And don't forget to share this with your friends. And we didn't even mention this at the beginning of the show because we started out so conversationally. But this show is now supported by Bellicon Rebounders. So, like we were talking about earlier with the hula hoop, we have the Bellicon Rebounder, and they're offering free shipping now.
You could hula hoop while you're jumping on the rebounder and get some real
That
good
would be
energy
Actually, you
flow.
probably could.
You could. I
Yeah.
think that might be something. I might try that tonight. I'm going to go get a hula hoop. I'm all inspired.
That would be pretty cool.
That'd be fun.
Our massage therapist has that hula hoop. Remember?
A weighted hula hoop.
She has
That's
a
what
weighted
mine is.
Oh, is yours
is
a
it
weighted one
that's
too?
got ridges or
It's really
Yeah.
cool. I'd never seen anything like that before.
Why not work out while you hula hoop?
That's what I'm
I know,
saying.
right?
Why not whittle
Yeah.
while you work?
Yeah.
Not whistle.
So if you guys are interested in the Bellicon Rebounder, you can check it out. They're offering free shipping right now. Not sure how long this is going to last, but it's extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON, and you can pick one up. They're
And
amazing.
save some cash.
Save some cash,
Yeah.
and it's an amazing deal. So check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. Pass this show on to your friends if you'd be so kind. We'd greatly appreciate that, all of us. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Hey, everybody, this is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That was so good.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview, packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind.